Oops, I did it again. I interviewed the legend Dr. Michael
What?
Kreger another time. It starts in a second, but before we roll, let me clarify a couple of things. Down below you find timestamps, so if you're only interested in a couple of questions, you can click the time down below. And we dive into the nut controversy. Is there such a thing as too much fiber, kombucha, and much, much more? So enjoy this interview with Dr. Michael Kreger. I interviewed him twice before, so I link both of the interviews also down below and up here. Without any further ado, enjoy this interview. Hello and welcome to another interview with the legend Dr. Michael Kreger. I'm so happy to have you again here on the show. How are you doing?
I'm so glad to be back.
We all cannot wait for your next book coming out this December. And so I don't bother you with questions about that, like fasting, this and that, because it's coming soon. But I have lots of other questions. Should we just dive right into it?
Let's do it.
I'm sure you heard about CBD oil. It's currently really popular and claims to have incredible health benefits. Could you share your opinion on CBD?
Yeah, we got zero data. Yeah, so when I did my cannabis series, that was one of the questions I had going into it. Is what do we have out there about using CBD specifically? Well, I mean, so there's just no data to support these claims either way. So it could work. We just don't have the science either way.
So, okay, we gotta wait. Some people are quitting a plant-based diet because they have conditions like SIBO, where they have trouble digesting all that healthy fiber and just feel bloated all the time. What would you recommend those people should do?
They should see my SIBO videos, and we say, wait a second, you don't have any SIBO videos. I say they're coming. What do the SIBO videos say? I have no idea because I haven't done the research yet, but it's on my list of research topics. So we will find out what, if anything, we can do for the condition.
We find out next.
I hope. Well, we hope.
Okay, we should all know by now how important fiber is, but is there such a thing as too much fiber? For example, I'm a heavy muscular guy living an active lifestyle and I eat about 4,000 calories per day. And because I eat a whole food plant-based diet, I get easily plus 100 grams of fiber a day.
Wow. That's awesome. No, in fact, that's what the human body was meant to eat. So the Paleolithic period, I have that video, Paleo Poo, where they took the fossilized feces from early humans and found 106 grams of fiber a day on average. So, I mean, that's what our physiology, that's what our bodies were meant to be eating. And so everybody else just has a lot of catching up to do. You're the ones doing it right.
Yeah, many people ask me like, aren't you bloated all the time? And I'm like, no, my digestion is actually great because I'm used to all that fiber now for years. And, so is there such a thing as too much fiber? Hardly, right?
Well, I mean, so now some people who've been slathering their guts with milkshakes and cheeseburgers their whole lives, they just don't have the gut flora machinery to process the fiber because they're not fostering the growth of fiber-eating bacteria. These are the good bacteria. So they may have to start slow. So for people that do get bloating eating beans, have them start slow, like a tablespoon of chickpeas a day, and then ramp up. And as your microbiome shifts to the fiber munching bugs, then you'll get not only will the bloating go away because these are the good bugs, but you'll get all the benefits of the byproducts of that fiber, these short chain fatty acids that are absorbed from the gut, circulate throughout our bloodstream, even past the blood-brain barrier into our brain, have all sorts of beneficial effects.
That's exactly what I experienced when I started. I didn't eat really legumes and I got bloated, but then I ate them consistently and now I can eat mountains of legumes, no problem.
Absolutely.
Because my gut bacteria
because now you have the right bugs in your system, and so you have exactly what we're shooting for. And so don't give up. People may have to start slow. Keep it up, and you will slowly cure your microbiome and heal it to perfection.
Exactly. You probably heard about the controversy around the nut studies and the critique against you and Dr. Fuhrman. Vegsource has done multiple videos where he basically tries to show that the science on nut studies is mostly either low quality or industry funded, and that the health benefits of nuts are overrated and that you should change your opinion based on his interpretation of that evidence. Could you share your opinion about that?
So, look, you can look at the Global Burden of Disease study, for example, the largest study on human risk factors in history funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They consider one of the #1 dietary risk factors for death around the world, inadequate nut and seed consumption. And so that, they have like 600 scientists from hundreds of institutions around the world. Are they really, are they saying that they're wrong, that it's just, this is the scientific consensus. That nuts are one of the healthiest things we can possibly eat. I saw so he did a video, talked about this pulse wave velocity, that someone had watched his video and so ate nuts doing this test, measuring kind of a proxy for arterial stiffness, and show that, boy, he ate nuts and all of a sudden, we had this change. But if he would have read the instruction manual to this, that's why this is not a study, because you can never get such a study published, because it was just simply done wrong. You eat anything, that's what happens, because basically all your blood, when we eat, we have this surge of blood into our intestines to actually facilitate the digestive process, and that shift in blood flow changes the pulse wave velocity. And so they say, you can't do postprandial studies. You can't do studies after a meal because they're useless. But he used that as like, see, nuts are bad for you. But he could have done the same thing showing potatoes are bad for you, or showing kale is bad for you, showing you would eat anything, you would get the same result. So it just shows, I'm all for people reading the science and, giving their opinion, but when you don't know some like basic fundamental facts on how some of this stuff works, and you just kind of, accept anything that fits kind of in your worldview, that's the exact opposite way to do science. You don't look to the science to support your beliefs. You look to, that's the wrong way around, right? You form your beliefs based on the evidence, not the reverse. And so, the science is very clear about nuts. I encourage people to eat an ounce of nuts every day as part of my daily dozen. It's a lot of foods that don't make the daily dozen checklist, but that one does, because one of the few foods actually associated with longevity. That and dark green leafy vegetables are the two foods that come to mind associated with living a longer, healthier life.
I agree, and I'm happy to hear that, because I love my nuts. His latest video shows research that too much spinach is bad for you, that it can have a negative impact on kidney function. As a vegan, this was a punch in the gut. Can he elaborate on this and comment if there are any other fruits and veggies we should limit?
Oh, so there's 3 high oxalate greens, so that's spinach, Swiss chard, and beet greens. These are wonderful, healthful foods that I include in my diet, absolutely, because they're fantastic, but you can overdo them. And so if you eat cups of greens a day, which you and everyone else should do, if you're eating cups a day of greens, then you really have to diversify your greens. And choose one of the lower oxalate greens, which is any of them. So, kale, collards, greens, which don't, you can eat cups without worrying. So if you eat cups a day, as you should, just choose for those cups other ones, but still continue to enjoy spinach salads, etc. But you can just overdo it. And I talk about the people who are particularly high risk for forming these oxalate kidney stones. People who've had a Roux-en-Y gastric bypass surgery, people that had extended antibiotic use, people that drink their greens in liquid form, so in smoothies and juicing, people who take high-dose vitamin C. All these things can increase your risk, and so then it's even more important. But even for people that don't fit in any of those categories, you can overdo spinach. Look, you can overdo water. I mean, you can actually literally drink yourself to death with water. You can dilute the electrolytes in your brain, drop dead in a coma. Our kidneys can only handle, a certain number of cups of water an hour. If you overdo it, you can literally die.
The question
is water bad for you? Of course, water's not bad for you. Water is critical, right? So, is spinach bad for you? Of course, spinach is not bad for you. It's wonderful for you, but you can overdo it. And so there's a few other things like chaga mushrooms and star fruit. It does not take many star fruit to take you over the edge. So, it's a few things just be concerned about. And it's important to underscore, foods have powerful effects. People have this idea, drugs you can OD on. Drugs are powerful chemicals, right? But look, I have these videos showing foods can have pharmacological effects. Foods that treat depression just as good as antibiotics. Foods like hibiscus tea or ground flax seeds treat high blood pressure just as good as high blood pressure drugs. All these, and so wait a second. If foods are that powerful, can affect individual foods can affect the course of disease, then it shouldn't come as a surprise that that you can get too much of a good thing sometimes.
Yeah, makes perfectly sense. The only question I have, but can you have too much kale? Is that possible?
You cannot have too much kale.
Nice.
You could potentially have too much raw kale, but it wouldn't be easy. But yeah, you could. There's these. If in the context of iodine deficiency, too much raw kale could impair your thyroid function. But the answer to that is not avoid kale. It's just to make sure you get enough.
And what I did after that video for my smoothie, because I used to add lots of frozen spinach to it, now I add lots of frozen kale to it. And
Perfect.
Problem solved.
That's exactly what I wanted people to do with that video, is just switch it up.
And now this question is for all my kombucha lovers. Please ask if he's reconsidering his negative stance on kombucha, which he hasn't updated for many years as far as I know.
Yeah, well, I mean, just because there isn't any new science, I'm going to plug it into PubMed right now, see if there's anything else up there. But, you should note that we were talking about case reports. I mean, my video on kombucha was just based on case reports. Here, I'm looking through it now. Because
I believe the last video was like 2013 or so. And yeah.
Ha! There's look. It does sound so. There's in the Journal of Primary Healthcare. There's an article called "Potion or Poison Kombucha." So hey, maybe there's something new. I will definitely add it to my list of things to update.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's what many people are interested in. Because kombucha becomes more and more trendy.
Kombucha. I'll do a kombucha update. All thanks to your fans.
Thanks.
Got it?
Yeah, I love that. I like to hear his opinion on the selenium content of Brazil nuts and potential toxicity, because Brazil nuts are not really controlled and some just contain a fraction of our daily needs of selenium, while other Brazil nuts exceed our daily needs many folds to a dangerous level. So, would you recommend a supplement?
It doesn't build up in the body. So it's not like, one dose is going to do it. But if you eat Brazil nuts every day, you don't want to eat more than one or two, because then you can run into issues with selenium toxicity. Again, Brazil. One of the reasons we love Brazil nuts is because they're just packed with trace minerals. I don't know if you've ever seen a Brazil nut tree. They're these massive trees with these deep roots. They suck all these trace elements out of the Earth's crust and deposit it in the nuts, but they're just a little too good at sucking up selenium, such that over a long term, eating more than one or two a day, you can run into issues. But that doesn't mean, look, you can eat a whole handful a day. If that's the only time you eat Brazil nuts, that's not going to be a problem. Your body can handle that. But if you were doing that every single day, that would not be the best thing.
Because some Brazil nuts, they have very little selenium, apparently. Depends where they're grown.
So this is just all we can do is based on averages, unless they're actually measuring it. Mm-hmm. So but if they're not measuring it, so on average 1 or 2 is probably the max you want to get to. But you're absolutely right. There may be some that are so low you could eat tons more, but if you didn't know that, you just kind of go by the averages.
Yeah, I hope in the future that producers just label them and measure the content, how much the specific Brazil nuts contain, that you know
Yeah.
how much you get. So for now, you would still recommend eat Brazil nuts and
Yeah,
not
no,
supplements.
and it would be in their in their best interest because they could be like, you can eat twice as many of mine as
Hmm.
the competitors or something.
Yeah,
I don't know. But you also wonder, well, wait a second, if it's a low selenium Brazil nut, maybe it's low in some other nutrients that you want out of that Brazil nut too. Or
hmm,
maybe some of the health effects of Brazil nuts are due to the high selenium content, so you actually want that.
yeah.
It's hard to know.
Because in Germany it's a bigger issue because here the soil is really, really low in selenium and you basically have no
Ah,
chance by just food, whereas Canada and the United States are quite high in selenium and just whole grains, legumes have quite a bit of selenium. But here in Germany, if you're vegan, you really rely on Brazil nuts. But then if it's like a guess, then supplementation might be recommended in some cases, but hopefully producers come out with like, yeah, how much.
but I mean, does Germany grow all their legumes? I mean, I know like Canada is one of the largest legume exporters in the world. So like
Exactly.
if you in Germany, if you get a bag of black beans on the market, was it grown in Germany or?
Exactly, that depends. They come from everywhere. That's why I
Yeah,
recommend get some from Canada, for example. Then you have a lot of selenium, quite a bit of selenium in there. And
yeah,
actually, I don't know if you noticed, but Finland, they enrich the soil with selenium, and now their foods are just rich in selenium because they enriched their soil decades
interesting,
ago. And now, like broccoli has 100-fold the amount of selenium, and they
interesting,
got their selenium low crisis covered by just enriching the soil. So Germany,
interesting.
what are we waiting for?
Ah, interesting. Well, who knows if that? I mean, if there's any downsides of that. You always got to worry when you make changes to the food supply. But that's very interesting. Boy, I'm looking forward to coming to Germany next May.
Yeah, where will you be?
Definitely speaking in Berlin. Not sure where else,
That's
but
where I am.
doing. Oh, fantastic! So coming to Berlin,
Nice.
and adding a couple countries I've never been to before. Never spoken Switzerland before. Never spoken Iceland before.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to that trip.
Now about decaffeinated coffee. Has decaffeinated coffee the same effect in terms of nutrient absorption, iron, etc., like normal coffee? Because
Oh, yeah, it
um,
should, but yeah. But I mean, coffee isn't as bad as tea in terms of blocking iron absorption. So I don't, for example, make the recommendation people shouldn't drink coffee with meals, but I do make the recommendation people should not drink tea with meals.
oh really?
And caffeinated or not, it doesn't matter. The decaffeination process doesn't affect the iron absorption.
So also with tea, that all kinds of tea.
Oh, so only tea, actual tea, not herbal tea, but tea. So it's green, oolong, black, white, so tea leaves from the tea plant.
And it prohibits the absorption of minerals like iron. And coffee not so much,
So
so it doesn't.
tea, yeah, no,
Yeah.
so tea does, which is actually good. I mean, ideally we want low iron stores in the context of sufficiency, in the context of a normal blood count. I mean, that would be the healthiest state. So I actually have videos talking about how you can reduce cancer rates by giving blood, by making blood donations to the Red Cross because it lowers your iron levels. Now, obviously, you don't want to get too low to become anemic, but that's the ideal state to have those low stores. And so for people getting excess iron, having, tea with meals may actually be a good thing. But obviously you don't want your hemoglobin, you don't want your blood concentration to drop.
Yeah. Okay, and coffee you don't consider as such a prohibitor, so you can enjoy it while eating your meal?
So yeah, just looking to coffee ingested reduced. Oh yeah. So it looks like it's about a drop obsession of iron absorption. Oh, so no decrease in iron absorption occurred. Coffee consumed an hour before or after a meal, but during a meal, um, yeah, 39% drop in iron absorption, as compared to 64% decrease with tea.
Oh
Yeah, so
wow.
tea is a much more potent inhibitor.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. Okay. main health benefit of a plant-based diet? Because like ethics is crystal clear, environment should be clear as well. But what are some of the most compelling health benefits to convince someone of a plant-based diet being healthier, superior than eating animal products?
All you need is one stat.
Yes.
Only diet ever to reverse heart disease in the majority of patients, plant-based diet. I mean, that's all you need. I'm trying to see now in the States, it's the number one cause of death of both men and women. Let me see what's in Germany. Yep, there it is. Number one cause of death in Germany is heart disease. And so there's only one diet ever been proven to reverse the number one killer of Germans. Boom. And so that should be the default diet until proven otherwise. And in fact, it can also be so effective in preventing, arresting, or reversing other leading killers like high blood pressure and type 2 diabetes, which seem to make the case for plant-based eating simply overwhelming.
Convinced. Where can I sign up?
Exactly. Although, wow, tobacco is still a leading killer in Germany.
It's insane. People smoke here like crazy, especially in cities like Berlin.
Crazy.
Ah.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah, that's why I love to come to the US, because it's so much less smoking, and here in European cities people smoke like crazy. I don't know why. But not like, as you used to say, like back then, it's not allowed in the movies, in many public places, but just in the streets, you see so many people still smoking.
Anyway.
What is the biggest, most difficult challenge you've noticed while fighting the health misconception battle?
Health misconceptions in general?
Yeah, while fighting that, what is the biggest challenge?
The big thing is people just think that, it's all in your genes, family history, nothing you can do about it. Of course I have diabetes. My mom has diabetes, my aunt has diabetes, and they just assume, they're just going to go blind and get on dialysis and have their lower limbs amputated. It's just like, was dealt a bad hand. And it's just not true. These are lifestyle diseases. And the only reason you, your mom, and your aunt all have the disease is because you, your mom, and your aunt are all eating and living the same kind of lives, which are producing the type 2 diabetes, and that you can reverse it if you reverse the cause by eating and living healthier. And we can prove this with interventional studies, with migration studies, with also, it's not genes. Some people are more susceptible than others. So, for example, you smoke a pack a day. Some people get lung cancer. Some people not get lung cancer smoking the exact same amount of cigarettes. Does that mean? Because some people have they're more genetically susceptible to get lung cancer. But if they hadn't smoked, they wouldn't have got lung cancer, very likely. And so, yes, having that genetic susceptibility never manifests if you don't, poke yourself with a fork 3 times a day. Or breathe carcinogens into your lungs.
Yep. One of the most common arguments against veganism people give is that not all bodies are well suited to veganism. They claim there are genetic predispositions to omnivore, are there any medical literature to suggest people may or may not have predispositions for or against veganism, omnivorism, pescetarianism, etc.?
We're all human beings. We all have the same nutrient needs, with small variations. It's like think of other animals. To think like, some cats eat meat, but other cats, live off of bananas. No, that's just not what happens. It's like cats. They have a certain physiology that's designed. So our physiology was molded over tens of millions of years to survive off of what our fellow great apes survived off of, and that's plant foods, right? The hominoid divergence started 20 million years ago in the Miocene era, where kind of our last common great ape ancestor, we split off. And so for the first 90% of our evolution, from 20 million years to 2 million years ago, first 18 million years, plants. And then we learned how to sharpen spears, we learned how to mill grains, we learned how to boil sugar cane, and then all went downhill. But that's just the last little 10%. But for the first 90% of our evolution, where all of our digestive enzymes, all of our, we lost the ability to make vitamin C. Why? Because all we were doing was plowing in fruits and leaves all day. So our body just scrapped the DNA that makes vitamin C. Most other animals actually make DNA. We don't have to. Fruit bats don't have to. Guinea pigs don't have to. They have to. They don't. They have to get vitamin C. They're the only animals that can get scurvy, including us, because they can't make their own. Why can't we make our own? Because we don't need to. Because we were designed to eat plants all day, every day. And so that's so if you're a human being, you've just got certain physiology. Now, there are rare enzyme deficiencies. So I have a video talking about 1 in, I think, 20,000 births. People, don't have the enzyme that makes carnitine, I believe. And so you'd have to take carnitine supplements every day for the rest of your life. If you didn't eat meat, just because your body makes carnitine, but if you're the 1 in 20,000 with a genetic defect that doesn't make carnitine, okay, in that case, you wouldn't necessarily have to eat meat, but you would have to take a carnitine supplement. But with those kind of extremely exotic cases aside, we all have very similar nutrient needs. Saturated fat, trans fat, sodium, bad for everybody, not just for some people. Fiber, folate, potassium, good for everybody, not just for some people. I mean, it's hard to get around the biology of it.
Yeah, 100% agree. And it's not about surviving anymore, but what makes us thrive. And now in most places we have the luxury. We can go to supermarkets and choose whatever we want, and why not choose what we are meant to eat, a whole food plant-based diet.
Yeah, and boy, we can get food. Look, any time of the year, you can be dead of winter, and you can get fresh fruit. You can get. I mean, we live at a time where we can absolutely optimize our health. Yeah. And it's just really sad that people aren't taking advantage of the healthy foods that are out there.
Eating ice cream all winter long.
Nice.
One question about onion and garlic, because I hear many people claiming that it's actually not good. Buddhists don't eat it because of their belief and claim it is toxic for the liver and this and that, and it makes people bloated. Is there anything true to that?
Garlic breath. That's about the downside. No. So you see all my videos on garlic. Does amazing things. Super healthy. In fact, you can do randomized, placebo-controlled studies because garlic is so potent. You can actually stuff it into a pill, stuff it into a capsule, and pit it head-to-head against sugar pills. And so you can prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that garlic does have all these amazing properties. I think the only other thing I can imagine being a downside is that because it's so effective in thinning your blood, you may want to stop garlic consumption a week before elective surgery. So if you're going into surgery, you're going to get cut open on purpose. Your surgeon may tell you to stop eating garlic a week before, so there isn't excessive bleeding during surgery.
Interesting. Now that veganism is becoming so mainstream, many parents get a baby and they want to feed their baby, their infant, a plant-based diet. Do you have the most important tips for concerned parents, what they should keep in mind?
Absolutely. Number thing is that they should be getting breast milk. Number one, most important thing. Certainly for infants, but breastfeed as long as possible, as much as possible. That's the best information you can get for feeding any small children. And then it's just more important that they make sure they get B12. For example. Some life starts eating healthier. They have stores of B12 stuck in their liver, so they could go months, years even potentially, without running into B12 deficiency problems. But an infant of a vegan mother starts out who hasn't been supplementing, can start out critically low and can rapidly develop vitamin B12 deficiency. That's why it's critically important. So everybody, obviously, who's eating a healthy diet needs to take fortify their diet with a regular, reliable source of vitamin B12. Is just that much more critically important for pregnant breastfeeding women. I'd also recommend pregnant women make sure they get a source of iodine. If they do take a prenatal, it should have iodine in it, like 150 micrograms, at least a few times a week, because of concerns about thyroid function in infancy. So basically, it's the same rules apply, but they're just more important. And so yeah, there's some wonderful books out there. I'd probably recommend Becoming Vegan by Davis and Molina, Brendan Davis Santo Molina, probably the best book out there. I believe Reed Mengels has a book on vegan pregnancy. She's amazing. Anything she's written would be good. And look, Dr. Benjamin Spock, probably the most esteemed pediatrician of all time, in the 7th edition of Child and Baby Care, his famous book, the last edition he wrote before he died in his 90s, recommended that all children be raised with zero exposure to meat and dairy, because he saw what was happening to these kids, the childhood obesity epidemic, what the grandparents were dying from. It's an excellent choice. Raise your kids with the best chance for a long, healthy life, but critically important to make sure things like vitamin B12.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much. That's all the questions I have. And thank you so much for taking the time. I hope I see you when you're here in Berlin. And I wish you a wonderful day.
Fantastic. Have a great time. Keep up the good work.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Now, how about that? Let me know down below how you enjoyed it, and let me know down below your questions for Dr. Michael Greger, because I have no doubt I will interview him in the future again, and then I go back to this video, check out the comments down below, and most likely pick your question. So now is your chance, and I would so appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel. I upload here daily. I do daily vlogs, I do podcasts, and if I have interesting people around me, like Michael Greger, well, not around, but if we're connected via Skype, via the internet, which basically makes everything possible, I get them on this channel as well. So tickle that subscribe button. Thank you so much. Like this video, leave your question down below, and I catch you in the next video, which is tomorrow, because I upload every single day. Peace, eat your chickpeas, out.